Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, and today we've got a couple of pieces of news for you, which are pretty exciting, pretty interesting. The Summon Rush and the Path of the Clover event coming up. Let's talk about Path of the Clover first. This is going to be your typical Heroes Path event. We've had several of these. It's going to be running from Friday through to Tuesday. And specifically for this one, it's going to be getting artifacts and accessories. That's dungeon divers, getting drops from dungeon or campaign, and upgrading champions as well. So that's going to be leveling up, ranking up champions, possibly ascending and booking them. I would check once the thing goes live. It might not include books, and you likely used a lot of your books during CVC anyway, but it's basically champion training plus dungeon divers to get this. So I'll do a video on this tomorrow when we see it actually go live. We'll look at the point requirements and see how it looks. What's the best path to take through this event? We'll see. They do say that we have some interesting stuff here, including a special avatar. So there's going to be a unique avatar. This will probably be your only time to get it. It's up to you if you care about that. I do see in the image down here that we've got a legendary book, an eternal soulstone, the biggest soulstone, and a legendary chaos ore up for grabs. Those are three really good rewards that are typically very worth going for if you have the resources to complete one of these events. So this could be a pretty decent thing to do, actually. Eternal soulstones are extremely rare. And in a lot of these Heroes Path events, the legendary book has been a pretty good deal. It's intensive to get, but compared to your other sources of legendary books and how limited they are, same thing with the Eternal Soulstones, it's actually pretty decent. So something to consider. Of course, as well, there's always the possibility that we could have a big champion training event for one of the Supreme champions. That's pure speculation, but, just bear that in mind. We haven't had a big champion training fight in a little while. They like doing those. So if you go for this big champion training fight, you could be putting yourself at a worse position to, do one. If there was like a champion training for Supreme Galek or something, you might be stuck there. So just a few things to consider. We'll talk about that more in tomorrow's video. Now for the Summon Rush event though, which is kicking off again tomorrow, I'll be probably pulling some shards. I actually won the champion training event that was just on for the fusion. So I've got 5 fragments extra. I think I'm a little bit short here because I haven't finished the dragon or the artifact enhancement yet, but I'm actually a little bit ahead. I won a tournament, 5 extra fragments. But as we know, for the Elhain fusion, if you're doing it, you're going to need to complete the Summon Rush. What are the champions? Well, here we go. So these are the champions for the 10x coming up this weekend. Supreme Elhain is in there, and Seer for your Void Shards. Then Mashal, Kyoku, Samson, Deacon, and Mistrider Dahi, and Seeker from the Ancient and Sacred. So first of all, I would say Ancient and Sacred Epics, Deacon Armstrong, Mistrider Dahi, and Seeker. These are all extremely good champions, extremely good. So it's actually a pretty good one. Like if you're a progression player, an early mid-game player, you don't have any of these epics. In my mind, these are all like top tier epics. So it's actually not so bad pulling, if you need to pull a bunch of Sacred Shards to get Supreme Elhain and you hit some of these epics along the way, it's like, that's kind of a win-win. It's actually pretty good. Deacon, turn meter control, AoE decreased defense, which functionally, because of the extra turn here, is on a 2-turn cooldown and a speed aura. Deacon is fantastic just in general in dungeons. He's a good mid-game arena champion as well. He's obviously insane for faction wars. He's brilliant for clan boss as well. He's great for Hydra too. So he's just a great overall champion. Seeker is extremely good as well. I think Seeker, because he has a double 50% chance on his A1, so on average, about a 75% chance per A1 to provoke. And he does an A1 every turn alongside what is, again, because the extra turn, effectively 30% turn meter boost every 2 turns. For Hydra, he's an amazing budget option to provoke that Hydra head. He's so good. He's also a really good, again, mid-game champion for Arena because of that big turn meter boost and provoking one of their key champions. He's got a nice passive for Arena as well. Even in Go second teams, he's pretty good there. So a flexible mid-game Arena champion. He's obviously insane for Clan Boss as well. So Seeker is fantastic. And then Mistrider Dahi, you guys know if you saw my videos on this guy, I think this guy is absolutely insanely good and super underrated because he's so new. But he gives himself increased attack, increased accuracy, fantastic. So he's gonna hit hard just by himself and you don't need to build much accuracy. Then he comes in with AoE decreased defense, extra turn, if he places it on all enemies. So there's a really good chance for an extra turn. Then his A1 also has a chance for an extra turn. So this guy will just be flying through extra turns. He goes so fast, and he actually pumps out really good damage because it's very easy to build him well due to these buffs. He even has an accuracy in all battles aura. Really, really good champ. He's going to be the MVP of Sylvan Watcher's Faction Crypts, in my opinion. And he's just fantastic in general. You can check out my video on him if you want to see more. So I think that's really good. That is the wrong thing. That was from the previous video I just recorded. Stay tuned for that. Got a guide on Spider coming up now that Spider has been changed. That should be out very, very shortly. Samson, Kyoku, and Mashald. Interesting champ. So Kyoku is in arena, sort of like, because of this passive, she's quite like a seeker. She also has ally protection with block damage on herself. So you can actually build her with pretty good damage. She hits pretty hard. So she'll ally protect your team and she'll be hitting reasonably hard. I'm not a massive fan of Kyoku, to be honest. She can solo Bommel, but it's very intensive gear-wise. And, you know, with Nishak teams that can do Bommel really quickly now, who was a fusion recently, very recent, with Lady Annabelle, who can solo Bommel as an epic with a much easier build. Kyoku is good, but not as crazy for that. She's a good champion. She's solid. And maybe she'll be better with live arena, but I think in current arena, she's not crazy. I guess, you know what? Actually, Polymorph, to be honest, Polymorph Blessing really makes her a lot better, because that's the problem with her, is that you go in and buffs get stripped, but Polymorph would give her defense, make her hit harder, and protect these buffs from being stripped. So there's an option there. You know, Stone Skin makes champs like this not as impactful, but she does get played a bit. She's pretty decent. I'd be happy to get one. We have not an undead in demons and undead. We've got Mashald. Mashald is excellent. He comes in with increased speed for your team and AoE, True Fear, and Leech. And then his A1 basically duplicates single target attacks to everything under Leech. What he is so good for in particular, I would say, is Hydra. He's amazing for Hydra because he provides your team with increased speed, which is super important. The Leech is nice, but he just does tons of damage with this A1. The Hydra heads all have passives that reduce AoE damage. And some of them, like Suffering, have really big AoE damage reduction. Because this is technically a single target hit against everyone under Leech, it doesn't get reduced by AoE damage reduction on the Hydra. So he actually hits extremely hard, very, very hard. And he's a fantastic champion for Hydra because of that. He shows up in a lot of the really top teams. Maybe not on Nightmare, but on Brutal, hard Hydra especially, he's extremely good. And then Samson is a new champion. I did a video on him, and again, I really like him. He is basically a HP-based nuker, right? He gives himself increased accuracy and crit damage to himself as well, but increased accuracy for your whole team. And then he comes in with an AoE nuke that can strip off increased defense. So this will do an extra hit if it kills an enemy. If you get this extra hit, this is by far the biggest HP nuke in the game. That's a bit difficult to trigger, of course, but it's still a good move. His A1 has a good chance to stun. And yeah, he also counterattacks whenever hit with a critical hit, and has a good chance to counterattack whenever hit with a normal, strong, or weak hit. So he's a really good tanky option in like a big bolster set for arena or something. Obviously, Stone Skin is a bit of a problem. Again, I would say for Samson. Polymorph can be a bit of a problem because he's going to be trying to strip off increased defense and he can stun. But nonetheless, you know, because he's counterattacking all the time, he's got this chance to stun. He does really good damage. He's a big tanky monster. You can build him in, like I said, a big bolster set for your team. He's going to do really good damage. I like this champ a lot. He's pretty cool, and giving increased accuracy to your team can be kind of useful too. He's a cool champion. Definitely one that I don't see around very much. I don't see many people using, but I actually like him quite a bit. And then finally to mention Supreme Elhain and Seer. I really think this is a bad time to pull your Void Shards, especially if you've got a good few stockpiled. Like, I feel like you're either early game and you're pulling more in a 2x, or you are, you know, later in the game and you've got more saved up, and it might be worth holding on to them just on the off chance they do a guaranteed thing for maybe 80 shards or something for Supreme Kale or Supreme Galek. The worry, of course, is they might do a guaranteed for 110 or 120 Void Shards like they've been doing recently. They've been upping the cost, but if they went back to like the Fortis and Riho sort of levels, 80 or 90 shards, I think Supreme or Galek, Kale or Galek would be worth that. For epics, definitely Seer is insane, and she's still insane for hard mode dungeons and speed runs. So it might be worth a risk going for a seer if you really need a seer. It might be worth that risk. I leave that decision up to you, but Seer is nuts. She's in a lot of the speed runs for Dragon and Ice Golem already for hard mode, so she is still super relevant there. So Seer's well worth going for. You can watch my video on Supreme Elhain. I feel like she's pretty underwhelming, honestly. I think this champion might be decent when it comes to live arena, where you're limited by draft modes and you can ban out enemy champions. Then she might come in and be quite useful as a decent damage dealer who's got freezes and actually really cool passive freezing as well. Gives herself increased attack and shield, so keeps herself alive. You don't need to bring in an increased attack champion that can be banned out for arena. She can bring it herself. So she has some advantages there for live arena, but live arena isn't here yet. I can tell you for a fact, I'm certainly not going to be pulling shards searching for a 10x for Supreme Elhain. She'd be one of the lowest champions on my list entirely for void shards to search for in a 10x. To be completely honest, I'm definitely not pulling my voids for this one, let me tell you. So there you go, guys. Look, that is the news. That is the 10x. Like I said, I think that this summon rush is actually pretty good. And then we'll see what the points are like. We'll look at that tomorrow. Definitely in an early video tomorrow, we'll see what the point requirements are. I'm worried about the point requirements. But like I said, the good news is that you actually have excellent epics, extremely good epics in here. So at least there is some consolation. If you're going for Supreme Elhain, you're going to get some great epics and potentially some, I wouldn't say S tier, but like A tier, maybe. Some solid A tier legendaries from your Ancients and Sacreds. Maybe go for Seer, but definitely I wouldn't recommend Supreme Elhain. Thank you for watching, everyone. Let me know what you think of these events, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Goodbye. Actually, I'll see you later for a spider video. See you all then. Bye-bye.